Hey travelers, Mag and I here on day 331 of our trip around the United States. Aichan and I are in the final 10 days of our planned itinerary. We can see the finish line right ahead of us now. All of our decisions from this point forward are going to come down to the same question. Is it worth the time for us to do? And do we want to take the time for us to do it? And the answer to that is always going to be the deciding factor on whether we're going after those geocache targets or striking them from the list and continuing on. Today, we're going to be finishing those last pages that we have in the northern section of California, excluding the coast. Unlike yesterday, we're going to be covering some new counties today, and we're going to have a lot of virtuals on the list to be able to go and tackle. We're going to be covering 290 miles. We're beginning our day here in Redding. We've already been through all of the counties and pages that touch the I-5, but to get to the other section of pages that we need here in Northern California, we had to cross it at some point. Here in Redding made the perfect opportunity for us to start our day. The Sundial Bridge is an iconic Redding landmark, and with Aichan loving to do her walks first thing in the morning, this is exactly where I wanted us to start out. For us to do this, plus the trail on the park, we're going to end up doing about a mile to get our day running this morning. That'll be perfect for her to wear down that energy, and then we'll start covering down on our miles. From here in Redding, we're going to be heading west all the way until we get into Weaverville. In Weaverville, again, we've got a bunch of virtuals to tackle. Once we're done with that, we'll begin to wrap our day back up north toward Oregon again, bringing our day to an end near Cleark Creek, but hopefully all the way into Oregon at that point. I guess we'll see if we can get that far today, and I guess we'll see how many of these virtuals we have on the list end up bringing us to amazing sights just like this. So let's get out there, hit the road, and see what it has in store for us. Come on, let's go. To reach the Sundial Bridge, we must enter the Turtle Bay Exploration Park. This 300-acre park, situated along the banks of the Sacramento River, features the Turtle Bay Museum, along with many indoor and outdoor animal exhibits, gardens, and a playground for children. The Sundial Bridge itself, a sight to behold, is a 23-foot wide, cantilever, spar-cabled stay bridge that spans 700 feet across the entirety of the Sacramento River. The original plans for the bridge were conceived all the way back in the early 1990s with a $3 million budget set aside for its construction. By the time the bridge had been completed in 2004 though, the cost had risen to over $23 million to complete this icon for the city of Redding. On the opposite bank, still within the Turtle Bay Exploration Park, we come into the McConnell Arboretum and Botanical Gardens. Within the Arboretum's 200 acres, there are many native and non-native plant species to be discovered. The 1-mile walking trail that completely surrounds the Arboretum allows explorers to view many of these native and non-native species while they connect themselves to the Sacramento River Trail. The much smaller McConnell Botanical Gardens comprise another 25 acres, including a Mediterranean climate display garden, a children's garden, a medicinal garden, and a large seasonal pond. The plants rooted in the Arboretum and gardens remain relatively static, but the other displays change seasonally and with events, meaning that explorers always have something new to see here. A mere 6 miles down the road, we come into Shasta State Historic Park in pursuit of a virtual. In this rather unique state park, we do not find ourselves traveling down trails filled with trees, but rather traversing the main street of a town that had once thrived in the mid-1800s. The discovery of gold in the area in 1848 brought many prospectors to the area, hoping to strike it rich. They erected temporary camps in places like Horsetown, Buckeye, and Whiskeytown, while Shasta remained the central point for prospectors coming and going. At its peak, it was easily the biggest city to be found anywhere within the county, becoming the county seat for Shasta and holding over 3,500 residents. Its rapid growth came to a grinding halt when it was bypassed by the Central Pacific Railroad, which instead routed into Redding. From that point forward, the population of the city began to rapidly decline, leading it into becoming a ghost town. Down the road, we visit another one of those temporary gold mining settlements at the Whiskeytown National Recreation Area. As opposed to Shasta, there is virtually no evidence of the town that once stood here, with only the remnants of mines in the hillsides to be seen. The few buildings that had remained into the 1900s streets, little more than crumbling piles of bricks, are now located completely under the glistening waters of Whiskeytown Lake. The completion of the Whiskeytown Dam in 1960, which has made this a preferred recreation area, also washed away the last remaining traces of what once had stood here.
This sign reads, "Caution. For your safety, do not go near the glory hole." Let me tell you, that is some of the best advice I've ever heard. You never, ever want to go near the glory hole. Leave that thing alone.
Still allowing the virtuals to guide our path, we come into the small city of Lewiston, with a population of about 1,200 people. Also springing up as a direct result of the gold rush of the 1850s, Lewiston offers us yet another look into a historic mining town. Outside of the rich history to be explored here, this is also a great place to hit the water, right along the banks of the Trinity River and home to California's third largest reservoir, the Trinity Dam.
This deer just popped out of the woods, bounded into the middle of the RV park, and is now standing there, statue still, like, maybe we don't see it. Oh, there it goes, finally going. That's definitely going to be one of the high points of her day, hands down.
Coming into Weaverville, we finally find ourselves in a decent city, here in the county seat of Trinity County, with a population of about 3,600 people. Founded in 1850, Weaverville sprang into existence as a direct result of, you guessed it, the California Gold Rush once again. This city maintains an atmosphere very much in keeping with its gold mining roots, with Main Street looking like it came straight out of the Wild West. Right in the middle of the historical downtown area, we pay a visit to the Jake Jackson Museum. This museum, completely run by volunteers, had us immersed in the gold mining history that led to the growth of Weaverville. In both the upstairs and downstairs area, there are exhibits and displays practically stacked on top of one another, bringing visitors through more than 150 years of history. But even that is just the tip of the historical iceberg, as just down the street you can also visit the local blacksmith shop, which does blacksmithing classes too. In pursuit of DeLorme page 39, which would prove to be our most difficult page of the day, we set off into the Shasta-Trinity National Forest. This more than 2.2 million acre national forest is the biggest to be found anywhere within the state of California. Its sprawling boundaries encompass 5 separate wilderness areas, hundreds of mountain lakes, and over 6,000 miles of streams and rivers. Not only can explorers in the forest discover the beautiful Shasta Lake, the largest man-made lake in the state, but they can also gaze upon the impressive sight of Mount Shasta, towering over the landscape at more than 14,000 feet.
Page 39 out here in Trinity County has been particularly challenging. There was a fire that swept through here a couple of years ago. It looks like most of the options were burned away. There's pretty much only one reliable physical option, which we were able to get, thank goodness. But beside that, it is a drive through forested mountains on some really rough roads. For the most part, I haven't popped over 35 miles an hour here, and most of these roads even less than that. They're filled with potholes, and depending on which side of the mountain you're on, tree falls and rocks through the road too. Now you can tell that somebody at some point in this early season has come through here and cleared out the big obstructions, so the road is passable, but it's passable with caution. And so with caution, we proceed, continuing down the road out of this tough page.
And so we continue to push our way even deeper into the Trinity National Forest. If things were as they should be, we should have actually been able to cut this page relatively easy right off the highway and kept moving right along. Our problems though stem from the McFarland fire that swept through the area on July 29th of 2001 as the result of a lightning strike. All of the easily accessible options were melted down with no owner maintenance since. We failed to make a single find in this page until we finally make our way into the almost forgotten town of Hyampom, with a population of about 240 people. Beyond that, we finally clear the portion of the forest that was burned to a crisp and are once again able to start adding our names to logs again. Passing back through the burned areas, we come across a big surprise, a geocache still right where it should be.
That is an extra crispy ammo can right there. It has been completely cooked.
At the end of our route for the day, we come into the city of Willow Creek, better known as the Bigfoot capital of the world. Deep within the Six Rivers National Forest, along the banks of the Trinity River, this rugged mountain community has been home to more Bigfoot sightings than anywhere else in the world. This is also where the legend of Bigfoot began to take hold in the hearts and minds of many, with a series of mysterious encounters beginning all the way back in 1958. It really began to gain infamy though when the Patterson-Gimlin film footage of 1967 captured this beast walking through the forest in the nearby Bluff Creek. Whether one chooses to believe or not believe in the existence of Bigfoot, there's no denying that there have been a series of strange encounters in the woods near Willow Creek. One find that I will not be chasing today.
That's going to do it for our second day exploring the parts of Northern California to run through all these pages that we needed up here. We began our day in Redding, and it was amazing to be able to walk out on the Sundial Bridge today. Not only that, but the park that place is in gives you plenty of trails to explore, and while we didn't do it, there's a lot of geocaches to be found out there as well. So that's definitely a place, put a pin on the map, and maybe go visit Redding and go explore out there a little farther beyond the Sundial Bridge. Once we got out of there, it was a pretty quiet day. We did get to tour the museum in Weaverville, but beside that, we have been winding through the mountains and the National Forest for the better part of the afternoon since. And that's not too bad of a thing, except some of these mountain roads, they've been a little hazardous. So it's quite stressful on driving, and it means that the miles are covered much slower. We're just about to enter Happy Camp, and despite the fact that we had a pretty early start this morning, we're really just on schedule for the day. I'm hoping that I'll still be able to make it to the edge of California tonight and be ready to hit Oregon first thing in the morning. But if the sun finishes setting down on us before we can do so, we may need to camp out and wait till sunrise to get out again. These mountains are definitely not the place we want to be driving at night. Thank you guys for joining us on this amazing journey through Northern California. Like this video, subscribe, stay tuned for updates, and we'll see you out on the trails.